So recently, everyone's been talking about our favorite special, the Try-Zooka. And, I'm gonna be honest, the discourse on Twitter right now is pretty down in the dumps. There's been a lot of top players just kind of being like, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable, Zookas are gonna take over everything, and the patch isn't doing enough. So today I want to talk a little bit about why that is, especially so soon after a patch, you know? Why are people, including myself, so confident that 2x Zooka is going to be the main comp? You know, maybe we'll see some 1x, maybe some 3, but double is probably the main thing. So I want to cover the 5 main reasons I think 2x Zooka is going to stay meta. So, first off, counters do not compete with Zooka. I think that's kind of the main thing that people are getting wrong at times. Let's take a look at the specials that have been, like, these are the counters to Zooka, you know? Like, we've been talking about Bubble, like, Zimmy and Junior and Roller just got better this patch, and even H3, though nobody's gonna play it anyway. And on top of that, we buffed Kraken. Kraken's now, like, a lot faster. That can chase Zookas down, and then Cooler's, like, an option, right? Like, Cooler mitigates the value Zooka gets. Let's assume that these are really good counters. Let's turn around and let's say these do all actually, like, have a sizable impact on Zooka. Let's say that all of these options are way better than they are right now. You know, just for the sake of argument. Okay. But do any of them actually compete with Zooka? Not really. Even if they counter it, they don't compete with it, which feels backwards, but it's not. What is Zooka's job? Zooka is an entry tool. Zooka is made to get your team in. That's its job. You know, you shoot, you damage people, and then you go forward and your team goes forward and you take space, right? The specials that compete with Zooka are the specials that also do that. Things like Missiles, or Inkstorm, or Booyah Bomb, or Wavebreaker, or Killer Whale, Jetpack, Crab, you know? Not really the same thing as the specials we've just talked about. To run less of Zooka in comps, you need more of these options. And right now, it's not looking good. Missiles just got nerfed, which still a good thing. Will got buffed, but Will isn't anywhere near Zooka's level, and honestly, I don't think you want anything on Zooka's level, especially Whale, of all things, a global range special with auto-locking. Jetpack and Crab, which were the main 2 staples, get pretty countered by Zooka. It shreds Crab. It shreds Jetpack. But on top of that, Zooka can do something that these specials can't do. A big attribute that I don't think enough people talk about. These weapons have a big advantage over. Let's say I inkjet for my team to go in back here, you know? We're gonna run forward, those are our enemies. I'm gonna jet, I'm shooting them. Go in, team, go in! And then they run in, and we're killing them, and we're taking the space. And then I recall back here, and I have to go in and join them. I can't take my own space. Crab's the same thing. It's gonna crab, but it's like moving really slowly. And then if you want a ball form to move faster, you're not shooting. You know, these specials can't take their own space. They can let their team go in and take it, but they can't do it themselves. They're dependent on other people to make it happen. Zooka does not have this problem. It is one of the many things it does better, because Zooka is just so fast. So you pop Zooka, you shoot, there's a kill. 3rd Zooka shot, go, I'm going in. That's damage someone, maybe it's killed someone, I'm running forward, I'm immediately fighting people. Even if you're moving while still having Zooka shots, while you have a movement penalty, you can still move way faster than Jet or Crab. There's no recall or anything. So, yeah. Zooka kind of outclasses other options, and on top of that, you can't buff the other options to be as good as Zooka. You have to tone Zooka down. Let's talk about another factor, though. Kits. Zooka has gotten probably the best luck when it comes to weapon kits on strong options. Out of the 6 weapons that have Zooka right now, Hero Shot doesn't count as a separate weapon, guys, there's 1 that's bad. There's 1 that's meta-defining, 2 more that are top tier, and then 2 more that are high tier and pretty solid at their own niches, being AoE or up-close combat. In fact, 1 of which got buffed this patch. So, you have a lot of options if you want Zooka. On top of that, Shot's like the most flexible weapon in the game. It's good at pretty much everything. It fits into the most flexible role in terms of frontline. You usually run multiple of those. Other specials don't have that luxury. Take a look at Missiles. I mean, you have 1 option with the bomb, but it's on a GooTuber. You have Flingza, which is a hard time at getting in, and also it's 210 with a special cooldown, so you're never going to output as much. You have Reflux, which doesn't really have the best sub-weapon for it, and struggles a bit to fight, and you have Wiper Deco, which again, struggles a bit to fight, and even get missiles that much, because it doesn't have a bomb. You have Inkstorm options, many of which are weaker main weapons, and then you have the one option of Nautilus that you can pick, which, legitimate niche, okay. Booyah Bomb weapons would basically see none of, because, yeah, none of these options are that appealing right now, believe it or not. There's Machine, but it's also 220p. Even when we go to, like, Jetpack, Brellas are getting Zooka to death, Nova can't fight, Rapid Deco struggled to get a lot of it, Try struggling to get it and doesn't have a bomb, so you're just left with BP, which, okay, we see some BP. Splash struggles with matchup-wise, so we've actually been seeing more V-dualies than that, but even then, like, that's one option. There's just not as many. Cooler is the one with the second closest amount of flexibility, actually, with 3 to 4 good options, depending on how you want to look at it, with Zap, Try, possibly Edit, and Pencil. But the thing with Cooler is you can't run multiple of them anyway, and again, not the same role. You know, I could go on about this, but this is why having a lot of kits are important. The more kits you have, the more options you have. And even the limited options we get, some of these are because we have a lot of kits. Like, we happen to have a dually kit or a ballpoint kit, for instance. So those are kind of valuable. Moving on. I've already kind of talked about it a little bit here, I guess, which I didn't mean to. But, yeah, Shot is the most flexible thing in the game. Shot has a cheap special, it paints well, it has a lethal bomb. It has some hard matchups, but it doesn't have to fight them, because it can do pretty much anything else. You can run double of them to kind of work with itself, have a lot of easy self-synergy, especially with the special, which I'll get to later. Like, it's just not that hard to run multiple of them. Usually the problem with stacking multiple weapons is having the same weaknesses on them. For example, double ballpoint, you would have double backline. Makes it harder to get in, which at peak BP meta, that didn't even stop it. So, how is it going to stop this? Alright, and that gets me to the best point. Zooka combos best with itself. Nothing else is as instant as Zooka, with as big a hitbox as Zooka, and as good a combo. And in fact, the patch made that worse. After this patch, one of the main specials to combo with Zooka was Wavebreaker. Wavebreaker was a good combo because not only did it get a one-shot, but it had other utility, and it located people. We still didn't see a lot of it, but there was still a lot of merit to going with it. Now you don't have the combo. And without the combo, a lot of other Wavebreaker's attributes just aren't as good. So all of a sudden things like VDS or Range Blaster or Heavy Spiraling, while still fine, are looking a bit weaker. And this goes with a lot of things that combo with Zooka. For example, even a weaker special like Ultra Stamp at least had the outside hit combo with it. It might sound small, but a bit more of these combos being removed have hurt anything that isn't Zooka. If you had a combo with Zooka before that was removed now, it is harder to justify picking your weapon. Again, Whale being the only exception to this. Whale is more likely to combo with Zooka, but even then you need to do 40 damage to combo with it, and the location effect isn't as good as other things. Maybe you can argue for it, but it's a bit harder. It's more than likely going to be your third special with the Zooka than replacing the Zooka. Unfortunately, that's just kind of one of the main problems with this patch. Finally, I want to talk about it's easy. Because I don't think people get this. When something is easier, it is more reliable. That is a huge, huge bonus. As long as something is easier to perform, if there is more options to do what you want to use, if those options have less of a difficulty to perform for whatever reason, they are more reliable in a tournament setting. This is Stamper's secret main problem. Like, Stamper's an amazing weapon, but this is the one difficult part about it. You can be a god Stamper, but fuck up a caster, and all your value is gone because you accidentally hit the wrong wall, or you accidentally zip just slightly too close to this target, or you missed one charge slash and die. That is the problem with the more difficult weapons. E-Leader whiffs one shot, and all of a sudden the cooler player gets cooler out, and the enemy team is all coolered up, and now you're screwed. You know? Difficult weapons have to have ways to make up for their reliability. That's why you build comps around them. You have ways of, okay, well, you know, Range Blaster comps are a good example of this, for instance. Maybe they're not hitting as many shots, but we have a lot of weapons that can combo with it, so we can play to the indirect aspect a lot more. Stamper can play to its Burst Bomb. That's a good way to make up for it for its self-sufficient weapon. That kind of thing. 2x Zooka is much easier than 1. If your shot player accidentally dies when you need a Zooka, whatever else you're running is going to take way longer to get it than another shot. And on top of that, that other weapon might have a problem. Say it's a ballpoint. Well, it can't go in with its own space, and your shot is dead. That's a big problem. But if it's just another shot that's down, okay, you could just... The shot will just jump in and then go in when you're back. Or you can go in with your own Zooka while you wait for it to respawn if you need to go immediately. It's just a lot easier to work with. There's a lot less of unanswered questions or things you have to compensate for. It's easier to work around when things go wrong. And the most important thing about matches, especially at higher level, things go wrong all the time. So rather than relying on, oh, I hope my shot just doesn't die forever as the solo shot, why not just have a second one? Then one of them can die and you might still be okay. How bad it gets when something goes wrong goes down the easier the comp is. It's easier to salvage the situation. And that's what Triple Zooka itself is really good at. That's why Triple Zooka is even being played to me. Is, okay, stuff can go wrong, but only one of these 3 Zooka guys needs to kill 2 people, which is not that hard. And if it happens one time, everyone else can go in. And that can happen with 3 separate players. That's an insane level of flexibility. Luckily, not good enough to be ran a lot right now, but the fact that it's able to be ran at all is kind of a problem. So yeah, I don't mean to make this video all doom and gloom about the meta. Unfortunately, the main issue with Zooka meta isn't any of these things. Main issue with Zooka meta is that it's just not really that fun. People are very demotivated because Zooka's just not a fun thing to fight. It's a giant hitbox, instant activation. It feels like the match can sway at any moment. It feels like the options by diversity are going down even with the patch coming out. There's just a lot of reasons to not have as much fun with this meta. And I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing some restrictions tournaments pop up. In fact, I would probably vouch that it's a good time to start doing them. You know, there's no Nintendo tournament happening right now, so, hey, at least you don't have to worry about that. So teams might be more likely to do this kind of thing. I mean, there's Worlds, but by then this will hopefully be changed. So, yeah. The meta's not fun. That kind of sucks. And hopefully this kind of talks about why. The patch really needs to nerf Zooka because, like I've said before, we can't really make other options as strong as this before. We've seen what happens when we do that with Jetpack and Crab, and Old Missile and S2. So, I think people, for the most part, understand that. But yeah, hopefully this shares a bit of understanding as to why I think we're in such a tough situation, even with the patch coming out. Thanks for watching.